Okay, it's noon and I will call this meeting to order at the special meeting of Lisle Township. Friday, June 30th at noon. And can we have a roll call? Clerk call it?
Sure, Supervisor Hewitt,
Here.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes, here.
Trustee Page.
Here.
Assessor Trowbridge.
Here.
Commissioner Young.
Trustee Geist is present virtually.
Oh, I apologize, Trustee Geist.
Thank you, Trustee Geist. And then we can do a pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one
one
nation,
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much.
Can I just let you know something, Supervisor Hewitt? When people in the audience are speaking during the meeting, I've learned from a couple people, the owl turns to them and then we lose the volume of the actual speakers at the table. So I just wanted you to be aware of that.
Thank you. It's not always easy to get all the audio is one of the hardest in the.
No, when they're speaking, when they're speaking out of turn is what I'm saying. So what happens, because just now I lost the audio because the owl must have turned to where it heard the sound first. But I'm just giving you I'm just giving you that as an example. It reminded me when that happened, or I would have told you sooner. I apologize.
Okay, thank you.
Autumn is on
Thank you,
Yes, ma'am.
trustee guys. And thank you, audience. Okay, then we'll start with the next after the budget, the public comment. So if we have anyone in audience that would like to make a public comment.
No.
Oh, okay, I guess I'm first in line then. Okay, it occurs to me that what I'm thinking about is clear communication here. I would like to suggest, without specific accusations, that I think the board in general has an ethical, if not a legal obligation to make the big picture clear to voters so that we can feel comfortable that we know what we're getting. I know it's hard work going through the budget and knowing all the legal ramifications and so forth. But I don't think that I should have to personally duplicate that hard work, in order to, not have it implied that I'm misinformed or something like that. In a couple of my previous comments, I had to ask, several times about what I saw as a discrepancy between the surplus of $4 million+ and the need to cut $175,000. Trustee Robinson finally did address the question, but the reason we're all here today is that I assume that part of this surplus is being proposed to purchase a building. A complete answer to my question, I think, would have mentioned that. And I don't know, among all the documents in the docket that we get for each of these meetings, is there somewhere that it says, this is what's going to happen to that surplus? We need it this year for this purpose, the following year for that purpose, and so on and so forth. And in terms of these cuts, does this imply a cut in staff, or can you assure me that that won't happen? Can you assure me that senior services will not be cut? I myself am, of course, a senior. I'm privileged to be in good health and frankly not to badly need any of these services yet, but that's not a permanent condition. So it's a concern to me. So I guess that's it. I would just like it to be easier for me to understand the big picture of what's going on, and to ask questions about it and to have them answered in good faith. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Hoopman, did you have anything?
Yeah, I do.
First of all, first and foremost, I would like to know why the 8 a.m. meeting for personnel, for the personnel committee was suddenly canceled yesterday. I don't know if that was in connection to cutting payroll by $165,000 and that we're gonna have to fire staff. And so now suddenly we're canceling this meeting because I cleared my schedule to be at that meeting this morning. Because clearly I'm upset that we're gonna be firing people. I seem to be the only one in the room upset about that. So I'm upset. Number one. So I'd like to know why that meeting was canceled, number one. Number two, we were attacked by trustees in the last meeting and told we were misinformed, that they were clutching their pearls about how could we be so misinformed and what a shame it was that we don't have the right information. Well, how can we have the right information if we're not given the right information up front? Trustee Robinson, at the end of that meeting, you made it seem like we didn't understand math. That we were going to be at the end of the year, next year, down to 3 million surplus, and then the next year more, and then the next year more. Nowhere did anybody mention the purchase of the assessor's building that has the bubble house attached to it. Nowhere did anybody mention that you were going to go into executive committee 5 minutes later after quoting me through 3.4 million. That we were going to spend it down some other way. Nobody mentioned that there was a building purchase, nowhere. So I feel lied to. So if I'm misinformed, it's because you're misinforming us. You could have easily said, hey, well, the reason because I'm assuming that we have over a $4 million surplus. By next year, we'll have over a $5 million surplus based on the budget cuts you did and the math I've done, okay? So I'm assuming that the money, whether it's 1 million or 2 million to buy the bubble house building, is coming out of that surplus. That's what I'm assuming. And I have to assume that because I feel lied to and misinformed. So if I am misinformed, it's because you're misinforming me. Okay, let's be very clear about that. Did anybody ever bother to think about what the optics would be? You mentioned that you guys have been interviewing staff for months to find out what their roles are. You mentioned that in the financial committee when you talked about we have 3 receptionists and what exactly do they do? Remember that, Debbie? You said that. So therefore, okay, we're interviewing staff. What do they do? And in the very next breath, we cut salaries by $165,000, never admitting someone's going to have to get fired. All the while, we're going to buy a building that has a bar attached to it. Did anybody ever stop to think about the optics of that? That was all going to come together at the same time? I don't know. I'm just wondering. Because for me, who has to assume, since I've been misinformed, okay, I'd like to know that.
Thank you.
By the way, I don't do upset visibly. I'm part Vulcan or something, but yeah, I'm upset too.
Thank you. Mr. Brubaker,
seriously.
did you have anything?
Yeah, I do. This is what you come. Purchasing a space that will not work for the community is clearly wrong. You're looking at space that won't free up fully for quite a few years, from what I understand. It just won't serve the community. That's your first priority, is to serve the community. Spending 1.7 million now in light of the personnel budget cut is clearly wrong. Spending the surplus down now limits the possibility of buying or building the appropriate facility in the future. What are you thinking?
Any other public comments? And there was a public comment online. And I think that was actually already printed. Let me just go get that really quick.
Online, this is from Claire Goldenberg. My name is Claire Goldenberg, and I ran with most of the people elected to this board on the platform of increasing services and widely promoting the services offered by the township to this community. As in the past, it had been a closely held secret that very few community members were aware of. It is clear that in the 2 years since this board was elected, little has changed regarding the promotion of the township services as evidenced by the statistics it provides each month. It is not a stretch to imagine that if this board started off as they had set forth in their campaign, they may not find themselves in this catch-22. Had they put out the NIU study in 2021 to every resident, asking them if they would be interested in a given list of services, lo and behold, then all 130,000 residents would be aware that the township could provide so much more and hence may be clamoring to get more from their township. But they did not do that. Instead, the supervisor, in her lack of wisdom, decided it was best to put the cart in front of the horse and created a colossal mess and alienated her board and many of her constituents in the process. Today, we are not sure why we are here. The agenda is unbelievably vague. We are possibly creating a special meeting of electors. What is that all about? At the public budget meeting, where the public made it crystal clear that we did not want a reduction in the budget, nor did we want any tax rebates, the board just bided their time during the meeting and placated the public, all while waiting for the vote to come so they could vote in their $175,000 budget reduction in the areas of personnel and senior services. They continue to profess that they are not looking to cut any staff, but they don't explain how they will achieve a budget reduction of $150,000 in personnel without eliminating any staff. The public is waiting patiently for this explanation. After the public meeting on June 26th, the board went into executive session for secret discussions that they did not want the public aware of. When they came out, they were prepared to cut the general assistance budget so that they would not be in jeopardy of depleting the surplus funds. Depleting the surplus money in that fund. However, in the same breath, they have no issues spending the surplus money from the town fund to attempt to purchase a building. So they are saving $175,000, but ready to spend $4.2 million. I am not saying I am against the purchase of the building for the township. I am saying the robbing of our most needy in order to get it done and doing it in secret and trying to lie to the public at a public hearing is hardly the best way to get it approved.
Okay, that was the last online public comment unless so that was the public comments. Next we'll get to the discussion and possible action to call a special meeting of electors. And this is what we've been discussing at the last meeting. The location does not have to be chosen as of right now. We've gotten word from two attorneys saying that we do not have to decide the location, but it would be really helpful for us to get some input from the board as to location options. Can we start with the location as the first topic and then go to the agenda?
Sure, I'll tell you where we're at. So I reached out for the past couple of days.
No, none of the people.
With the school district. They cannot accommodate the 19th nor the 20th at the high school. They may be able to accommodate the high school on the 18th, but I'm still waiting for a communication back on that. So she knows we're in the meeting. She knows it's going to be a short meeting. So I keep watching the text on that. The junior high, we won't know any of that till next week. They can't even get an answer on that. So that's really
That's likely to, because we have to have this before.
Correct.
The fifth.
I'm
So-
assuming it is. I didn't do the math, but yeah,
Well, if you're to do, it's 14 days,
the 19th, correct.
so if it were it would be the fifth. Okay, then, and then I'm just wanting to go through people's opinions on some of the other options. This is too big these are too big, but, meaning the Morton Arboretum and the Benedict, let me make sure I'm sharing this for, sorry. So this was an extremely expensive facility, beautiful, highly recommend that, but it was expensive. This one, the DoubleTree, could be an option. As well as, well, that one is more expensive than we thought. So.
We don't have any other schools within our township that might be able to help us out. I'm just thinking. What about the community room at the Park District? How many does that seat?
At the most 85. It's
Oh,
not,
I thought it was bigger. Sorry. Yeah, I thought that was bigger. I don't know.
Benedictine University also has been helpful in the past. We can always call Bennett Academy.
I just don't know what would be available or not available. So if we pinpoint, the 19th, it's whatever's available. Yeah, and we have to choose from there.
Can we, I guess. Okay, so we do have to have the date? Okay. Do you feel like we have 5 days that we can figure that out, that we can get a venue by the 5th?
Well, with the holiday, it's hard, right?
Mhm.
And the holiday and a weekend?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Move the location.
No, the location, the clerk has to decide the location. What the trustees, from the legal advice we've been given, is that we have to approve the date and the agenda.
I don't know if this is the best option, but we know that the high school cannot do the 19th and the 20th, but there is the possibility of the 18th. It would be the possibility of the 18th, either at the high school or the junior high. So we have 2 chances there for the 18th. So I know that's our strat plan meeting and we keep changing that.
Do we have to have it that week? Can it be the following week?
Do you think they would be open to allowing us to do it on the 20th? Like the following week is a whole lot easier to avoid the holiday for the planning.
Well, in your vision, Supervisor Hewitt, when you originally brought the purchase of the building to us, and at that time we didn't go forward because we didn't have a dollar amount to work with. And now you did come forward with a dollar amount. In your vision, do you think we're going to need space for that many people? Because I look at the town hall, I didn't feel like we didn't have enough seating in the highway commissioner's building, and then we don't have to pay anything.
I really think going in the garage is a bad route. For any kind of, if you're trying to do presentations, if you're trying to do anything from a technical perspective, I'm just
Sure.
saying.
Sure.
Occupancy, we can only hold so many people. I don't believe that we've tried to buy a building recently without getting a few hundred people there.
Yeah, I don't think it's either. Yeah.
And she did say they are available the 21st. That's a Friday though. I don't know what you feel a 21st, a Friday for an elector meeting.
So the 24th through the 28th would be the next week.
Let me, while
So
she's
for-
communicating. How about?
And that would give us until the 10th to decide the date, or sorry, to decide the venue. But if we could decide on the date.
So they probably will have another event on the 26th, that probably wouldn't work. Because the reason they're not letting us use it on the Wednesday is because they have the concerts in the park and the parking.
Yeah,
And
those are big.
so they have another one.
What about the 25th?
And she said that.
Trustee Robertson.
Good
how do you feel about July?
Checking things. Yeah, it's open right now. It's open.
Okay, the 25th feels like a safer date.
No, the 31st is the first one.
Okay, just kidding. So the 31st,
The 31st they have open.
It's a Monday.
Monday, the 31st. Okay, does anyone at the end of the table have any opinions on the 31st?
I don't know what.
Is that okay? Is that okay for the seller? Is that, I mean,
I don't know when you have to get back to Lynn, there's a time limit there.
Right, so,
That was 60 days from last Thursday, right?
okay, well, we're definitely within 60 days.
oh, okay, good, good. Okay, that's good to know. I didn't know it was 60. Okay.
Um. So the high school is probably the most efficient use of our funds. They're what, $450?
It was more than that. Once we get the audio, I think it was more like 700 and
Okay.
something, but it was far less than everywhere else and it's a lot easier. So yeah, she is, I can attempt to mark you in the whole, and they're holding the date for the 31st.
If you push it back that far, you're limiting the time in which you complete your due diligence. Yeah, 60 days.
Can you ask her what the soonest thing, is that the soonest?
The Friday, the 21st.
So a Friday can work too.
Yeah. You could have it at the existing garage.
I appreciate the offer. You've always been accommodating for that. Yeah.
You know, it's just, I don't know how long the meeting will see.
Yeah, we've done that.
It's not gonna be air conditioned.
It's not gonna be air conditioned in July.
Well, we were in there in July before. We had those big fans. It was fine.
You just never know. Is what we do know.
I think that's correct.
Okay, so does the 21st on a Friday appeal to you all?
I think the
It's
sooner the
fine.
better.
I agree, the sooner the better. And if that's the soonest with the best location, I think that's the best idea.
And just confirming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk Paulowitz. And then I'll get the agenda up.
I mean, we could go on.
Right, so I'm just going to the agenda. So we're gonna do, oh, sorry, this is the latest one that we had been working on.
So I'll jump in. 21st, we're good to go.
Thank you.
Do you know what their address is?
We'll find out. Early.
And 7 PM is the start time.
And doors, yeah, 7 PM is what we kind of communicated before. And 6 o'clock, the doors will open.
Okay,
18, sorry, it's 1800 Short Street.
thank you. Great, and then, so items to make sure that we have the right wording. Assessor Trowbridge was there anything in particular that Carolyn conveyed?
Yes.
Okay. So. Okay, so what she would like is a consideration of an action on a resolution exercising the right of first refusal and authorization. Authorizing the purchase of property located at 2121 Ogden, Lisle, Illinois, then public comment, then adjournment. So the one piece that that I guess had last been done is public comment before or after this happens. So there's gonna be and there also needs to be a presentation, so I would suggest the presentation would be number 6.
Well, we talked when the other night when we talked about this, we suggested that the presentation come before the public comment so that the people could see the presentation before they comment. It may adjust their commentary. Because I think that's one of the challenges we have even in our meetings now, right? Is that people comment before we have a chance to speak, and then it gets confusing and it's hard to like roll back. So I think if we can do the presentation and then public comment, then people can have questions based on an informed decision, right? So
So who's doing the presentation? Do we have
I think we were still going to determine that.
but we're determining the agenda right now, so. The presentation would likely be from the seller, I'm guessing, as
Sorry, why would you think that?
well, there's going to be aspects of a sale. And there needs to be several components, one from the township's perspective. 2 from the seller's perspective, meaning like, frankly, I think there needs to be a agreement as to
Do
what.
you still have the presentation that you gave before when we brought this to the community?
Excuse me one second, trustee guys. Let me just get this thought out. So the idea would also be that the assessor would, I'm sure, have something to say about what the property, what's happening with that office. So I'm not sure what the board is looking for from a presentation perspective. Do you want, for example, the operations manager to make the presentation? Do you want I mean, there's a lot of conflicts of interest for you, Clerk Polowitz. But do you have somebody that you would
I'm
recommend?
not sure there would be a conflict of
Well, we'll
interest,
see
but
the
I'm not
conflict.
sure that I would be doing the presentation.
Why wouldn't Supervisor Hewitt give the presentation? She gave it before. That's why I was asking if you still had that presentation.
I can, but I am obviously, I mean, I can do the presentation. I would be happy.
Well,
to.
let's.
Sorry, can we just say
hold on.
township board?
Can it be a combination, Supervisor Hewitt? Do we have to say who's going to give the presentation? Can't we just say presentation?
And we
Sure.
can figure it out what makes sense. So this way we're answering all the public's questions.
Yeah.
So decision one.
I think
way or
it should be a combination. I think it should be a combination of the seller, the supervisor's office, tax assessor Trowbridge, so that people are having the opportunity to see this from each perspective. And I actually, because we're not buying this outright, it would be mortgaged and the rent that's accumulated would go toward the mortgage, right? So we're not saying we're buying a $1.7 million building, correct?
You
So
guys-
those are things like that are important, right? Well, I'm just saying, so based on who's giving the presentation, that would change, right?
Excuse me. We would be buying this outright, to be super clear. It would be a full cash purchase.
Oh, we
So-
wouldn't mortgage it?
No,
no.
we would not mortgage it because we have the money, we would not mortgage it.
Yes.
Okay, then, we can just put a presentation. We can have public comments after the presentation, before the vote. Approval, and I'm gonna put in this exact wording of consideration of an action on a resolution exercising a right of first refusal and authorizing the purchase of property located at 2121 Ogden, Illinois. Is that, and then do we want any other, essentially public involvement, whether there's a Girl Scout troop or anybody that we know of? I didn't know of any other.
Well,
I love that when you did that before. I love it. When you had the Girl Scout troop come and do the pledge, I thought that was great.
not sure we need to put that in the agenda.
Okay.
The one thing I think we had, and I'll pull it up, but the one thing I think we had before were the approval of the rules of the minute of the meeting. But Carrie Lynn, attorney Kraft after did. So we had that early on. In fact, we could pull it up what it was. Because remember.
I think it was right after
how
the
much time.
Elector, after the moderator. Or was that
No, I think
before?
it was before, we could look it up on the annual town meeting.
I think it was after the moderator, because didn't the moderator say these are the rules? I thought the moderator said, no?
After, probably. I'm not really much.
Okay, we did it as number 6, right after, it was after the appointment of Sergeant at Arms.
Sergeant of Arms, that's what it's, yeah.
Was there, do you have the last agenda in front of you?
Yeah. So I'm doing that.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Um. Do we want to have any information about any, like, anything from the township of services or anything, or just have this and that and move on? I would like at least a few minutes to remind people about the transportation program in particular, and some of the other options that people don't realize that we do. So if we could have.
Could I ask if we don't do that, could we keep it, and the only reason I'm saying that is to keep it on point and focused, because it really isn't a town meeting.
True.
I don't know what you guys all think, because, I mean, you could have any literature out there.
Here's the thing is that part of, if we even just had 5 minutes to remind people of the things that a lot of times people just don't know we do. We've had some changes with regards to our transportation program. If we just had 5 minutes where we because basically we're buying a new building to do stuff. Well, what are we doing now? And so it helps them, remind them of the services that we can't expand or what have you not.
Would she
But
be able to speak to that? Would the senior services, would she be able to speak to, hey, this is what we can do with this space for seniors? Would that be
Oh.
part of the presentation or?
I didn't have that be, but I think it really just helps people know these are what they're doing right now. So if we just have 5 minutes to give the employees a time to let the community know what we do as a township, I think it's gonna help in.
I'm torn on this because I understand what Clerk Polowitz is saying is that this meeting really needs to be focused on the task at hand and we don't want to divert from it. I also see value in senior services speaking to how she would use this space and how it would be beneficial to our seniors. So if that would be part of her presentation, could that happen? Why are we being timed? I thought this was a discussion.
So it is a discussion, but we need to, make sure that the public can follow this. And so addressing each other by our titles and we need to be called is, how we run a meeting these days. So I just want to make sure.
Oh,
that-
I apologize if I was out of form. I thought you asked Clerk Polowitz a question, so I was just adding to that question. I didn't know we couldn't, wasn't asking for presentation time. I was just asking questions. You asked what we thought, correct? You asked for our opinion of what we thought, so I was just speaking to it. So I apologize if I was out of form.
Trust you guys, we're just trying to make sure that we're going through and letting everybody else speak as well. So that's why part of the timing allows for people to, continuously.
Yeah,
get
I get it.
So before, because frankly, we're trying to answer all these questions and whatnot. So I haven't heard that much from trustees Page and Robinson. Do you all want to have any time for the community to hear about what we're doing?
Yeah.
Or
I
what do
think
you
it's-
want on the
no,
agenda?
It's fine. Let's have a presentation from the staff about the new programs. But I think there should be some material in the lobby too,
Yes.
whether hopefully the newsletter is ready to have,
Mm-hmm.
ready by then, right? So, yeah, that's fine.
Is it gonna be before or after the vote?
So if we're looking at the agenda, that's where we're trying to make sure we know where we're at. And so would we want to have that be right after the adoption of the rules? So before the presentation or when would you want to have the presentation from the township? So
Is that a question we can answer or when do we answer those questions? Do we raise our hand?
Trustee guys, yes, raising their hand is the rules that we agreed to. So if anybody, that way it's easier so that it's easier to, follow for everyone. Trustee Geist, I see your hand up.
Okay. So my question again is, when they give the presentation, can we make it a guideline that they speak to how the space would be used?
Any other questions?
That's it. I just want that question answered. That's all. Otherwise, I would, if we're going to take the time for the 5 minutes for the presentation, I would like that to be part of it, that it's a solution oriented presentation. Trustee Robinson, Trustee Page, thoughts?
Yeah, future looking as well, right? So here's what, here's what we delivered today. Here's how this space is gonna help us in the future. Yeah, I agree. It should be
Agreed.
directional.
Okay, and Trustee Robinson and Trustee Page, do you have any other thoughts on the agenda placement? So where this would go, would it be
And
6, 7?
I would put it right after the adoption of the rules for the meeting, be my recommendation.
Trustee Page, do
I
you
would
agree? And Trustee Geist, do you agree with the?
I agree.
Okay,
And then I just want to question, do we want public comment after the approval? I think we would want public comment prior to voting.
Yes.
So this way everyone gets a chance to voice their opinion. Afterwards, it's kind of too late, right?
yes, ma'am.
And then I was just gonna say the rules were using the same ones as last time. Is
We're
everybody
gonna
okay?
propose the same ones, but
Yeah,
they're gonna,
propose, exactly, but that's what we're putting forth.
yes. Or is that okay to use the
Certainly.
same ones
Yes,
that we
certainly.
agreed to last
Certainly.
time?
Right.
Okay, so does anybody want to make a motion?
Well, sorry.
to-
Is
And
that
I'm
the
gonna-
action? You're gonna change that word,
Right,
correct?
do that right this second.
Thank you.
So each of the presentations, I think in the rules, there was a time limit of 5 minutes to those.
So do we want to put times on everything right now? That's gonna, I think, be difficult to. I mean, we can put time limits to. Presentations like the total, but I'm just saying, time limits for the public comments, that's 3
It's
minutes.
in the rules.
That's already in the rules.
Right.
Okay,
I just want to make sure that there's enough time to do what we want to do, because it's not written down yet or figured out.
and Carrie Lynn will write out the resolution.
Do we want to have any discussion on like a group to get together for the presentation to figure it out?
Yes,
What would make sense to it?
definitely.
Do I raise my hand to answer that, or do I wait? I don't know what the rule is.
Trustee guys, please respond if you have any responses.
I think it's a great idea to have sort of a workshop where we come together with the presentations to make sure that we're being consistent, but more than that, that we're not being redundant. Do you know what I'm saying? So we want to make sure we're giving as much information as possible and being concise with the time limits that we're working with.
Okay, so I just make sure of that we're clear on some expectations. On the 12th, we have our regular meeting. of Lisle Township, can we add on the agenda? Review the have one of the agenda items be the presentations, that way we. Can, if we wish to, again, discuss them on the 18th. We're gonna be getting together as a group on the 18th for 6 hours. So we can start those discussions on the 12th and make sure that, the staff is conveyed. What we're trying to expect and have some feedback from the staff by the 12th. Does
Is
that
there a
sound
way
good?
to keep that out of the meeting?
And. So I just wanna make, so,
Sorry, that's all I was gonna say, so don't time. I'll be-
Why this point of work from Barry and the assessor?
or whoever.
Or do it? You want to do it?
Sure.
Okay.
so, there needs to be staff involvement and whatnot, so we all will manage all of that. Okay. And then I would love to be involved as well. Just volunteering. Then, we have the agenda up here. Is there any other changes proposed? Or can we make a motion to agree to the agenda?
Can you scroll to the top again, please? Could you fix the year?
Sorry, the wrong agenda.
Again, that needs to be fixed. The special township meeting.
This is another agenda. I've worked on a few items.
That you just had it open a second ago.
I think you had the right one the first time, yeah,
No.
because it had the address of the,
Mhm.
The one titled copy of agenda.
That one. Yeah, that, because it was the one where I typed out the rest of the. These. There, this one.
So again, you need to fix that to 2023.
And the address. Oh, yeah. 1800 Shore Street.
And that the doors open at 6.
I can't see the agenda anymore, just so you know.
Line 7.
Extra S. Mhm.
Do we want to write a presentation on the issues of why the resolution is necessary? I don't think we want to write it that way. How about presentation regarding resolution? Or regarding the possible purchase of 2121 Ogden Avenue. Why don't we put that so it's extremely clear in the agenda what's happening, right?
Mhm.
Because otherwise it does seem like we're hiding it in a agenda item, which we're not.
Okay. Does anybody have any other comments on this? Any typo I missed?
I have my hand raised, but I don't know if you can see it.
Yes, trustee guys, what can we do to help you?
Well, I was just gonna let you know, because we jumped into this and I wanted to mention to you, I would be really happy to help to string that presentation together. That's my background. So I'm happy to lend that service to helping to make sure that we have a really cohesive, well-communicated presentation. So if you want to put my name in the hat for helping with that, I would be happy to do it. And do we need a time frame on the public comments from registered voters? We don't need to mention the time, right? We agreed to that. That's all I had.
We have to make sure that it's in line with our rules, and so everybody has the same amount of time. So
Do we want it in the, do we want it on the agenda? So when they see this agenda, they know what time frame they're working with and they don't have to go look up the rules?
the rules are gonna be produced with the agenda, and in the previous rules, let me look at the previous rules. Because those are the rules that we're looking to adopt.
Oh, yeah, I get it. I just didn't know if someone would look up the rules before the meeting. Like, you know what I mean? So they make sure they keep their presentation that they're giving, or not the presentation, their talk, the text, the community. Yeah,
Okay, so literally on the backside of the agenda is gonna be these proposed rules, and so I'm going to make a copy of these. And I'm gonna change the date and the location, but there's,
so will they get this at the meeting or will they know to look at this? That's what I'm trying to say. If they see that this agenda goes up today, for example, I'm just throwing an idea out. And if I saw this as a community member, I might not, know. I only have a certain window of time to put my presentation together to speak.
excuse me. So on the agenda, as this is being published, is the backside are gonna be the proposed rules. So if you see the agenda, you can see the rules. So does this make sense?
Yeah.
So it's a 2-page, it's gonna be.
It's
a
consistent.
Page document.
I'm just gonna add, in all fairness, if you're speaking on Zoom, it's really hard to know when someone's speaking here. I'm just saying that because I've.
Thank you. Thank you.
Clear.
Just trying to,
Move it along.
keep everyone trying to be coherent. Okay, so we're agreed to these rules.
Yes.
Okay, and then would we like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda and the rules for the special town hall for July 21st, 2023.
I'll second.
Thank you, trustee Page and trustee Robinson. And then any more discussion? And then a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Page,
Yes.
trustee Robinson,
Yes.
trustee Geist,
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, trustee Geist. Okay, does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, trustee Page.
Second.
Thank you, trustee Robinson, and then have a super day.
Thank you. Appreciate you.